Aishwarya Nag Chaudhary, a graduate student at the Newhouse School, with this week's edition of the Qcast.
Ride-booking apps like Uber and Lyft will soon be able to pick up and drop off passengers in Syracuse. The app allows passengers to bypass taxis by hitching rides with private vehicle owners who drive for the company. People in Syracuse are looking forward to the arrival of the app.
One of the largest races in central New York kicks off tonight. Good afternoon, I'm Annalisa Pardo.
And I'm Aishwarya Nag Chaudhary. More than 8,000 runners and walkers are expected on Anandaga Lake Parkway to encourage fitness in the workplace. Former FBI Director James Comey preparing to testify before the Senate investigators. That's our top story in news around the world. James Comey will testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee in an open session on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. He is expected to answer questions about reports that President Trump asked him to back off the FBI's investigation into any ties between former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and the Russian government. The Summer Jazz Workshop helps participants to get closer to their dream of performing on a big stage. But that's not all. 21-year-old Rashid Baker is in the hospital after being shot. Police located him on the 600 block of Barnes Avenue, suffering from a gunshot wound. Baker graduated from Jamesville DeWitt High School in 2014. He was a member of the football team. He started the Jazz Fest 35 years ago and has been at it ever since. Jazz Fest founder Frank Malfitano brings music from all over the world for the annual Syracuse Jazz Fest, and after more than 3 decades, he still calls it a labor of love. And that's the NCC News 4 o'clock report. I'm Aishwarya Nag Chaudhary.
And I'm Jake Lapin.
At the Summer Jazz Workshop, the participants don't just play music, they make their own.
The kids are learning how to create music. They're learning how to take jazz improvisation solos.
And one doesn't need to be a pro to be a part of the workshop.
A lot of the kids come in here with no experience at all, so they're doing that for the first time, and some of the kids in the older group have been doing it for years.
The 4-day workshop aims to bring out the best talent of Central New York.
Kids are able to play in a group with other kids they've never played with before.
And there's more.
We bring in national guest artists to come in and showcase their talent with the talent that we have here.
This year, the professional guest performer visiting the workshop is
Bria Skonberg.
Stromberg is a celebrated trumpet player around the nation, and the young performers are quite obviously excited.
She's kind of taking the field by storm right now, so it's really cool.
Most of all, the kids say the workshop is a true learning experience.
It's fun and I get to learn new things.
Good experience as a musician to play jazz with other people. It's good for improvising as well.
Summer Jazz Workshop started yesterday and will run until this Friday.
I've never seen this kind of fear where people feel they need to flee from the United States, a country that was based on welcoming immigrants.
Janet McFrigid is a social worker who lives just north of Plattsburgh in the town of Champlain. She works directly with refugees.
Have you seen an increase, like personally working with them?
It's a very interesting situation. Living on the border, of course, we're used to refugees, we're used to immigrants, but what we've seen since the election has been, I'm sensing a more of a fear that they're going to be deported to an area that's unsafe, and so they're taking the risk to cross the border to go into Canada in hopes of getting asylum status there. So as far as what I've seen personally, it's primarily been an increase in taxi cabs.
For many refugees, the journey of crossing over the border begins at Plattsburgh. Asylum seekers often take cabs to travel to Roxham Road in Champlain and just walk over the border.
How many people have you dropped off at the border today?
There was only 3 so far.
Rob has been driving taxi cabs in Plattsburgh for 4 years. Why do you think there has been this increase in the number of refugees that are trying to cross the border?
Well, now that I've got no idea other than they're looking for a better life or away from danger.
In a quarter mile, arrive at Roxham Road.
I took the trip to Roxham myself. A narrow, unassuming lane greeting visitors with a dead-end sign.
At the end of the road, a narrow stream separates the two nations. An officer of the Canadian Border Patrol says that Roxham has become a hotspot for refugees to try and cross over. It is thus a highly patrolled area.
I can't give you numbers. I can tell you we're busy.
Most of the 4,000-mile border that the US shares with Canada is wide open and unsecured. Roxham residents say that the road was no different. But since the elections, it has become a busy exit.
Goes up every day, 5, 6 of them every day.
See them all the time coming down with this taxi left and right. People get dropped off, and they walk the road up to the border at the end of the road.
Kristen Brown lives in a house on the border.
Lived on the border for almost 10 years. And in the first 9.5 years, we saw a taxi once, maybe twice, in all of our time living on the border. Since January, mid to late January, it's been about 3 a week, or 3 a day. It's actually increased from 3 a week to 3 a day.
She feels asylum seekers think they will be safer in Canada.
Why do you think suddenly there has been such a huge increase in people who want to?
People are scared. People are worried that they are going to be either deported or persecuted or mistreated for their skin tone or ethnic origin or their religion.
Many in the community want to help refugees. McFetridge, the Champlain social worker, is trying to decrease panic among asylum seekers.
We're looking into maybe linking them up with legal help if they need it, clothing, other kinds of assistance, to just see what they may need.
But she says that refugees crossing the border is a byproduct of a larger problem.
I think our immigration needs a huge overhaul. I think some of these people who are documented right now and their visas are going to run out, the system seems somewhat broken in that it's hard to get your visa renewal.
The new government continues to implement their policies and the problem seems to persist. As the weather grows warmer, the number of asylum seekers crossing the border are expected to rise, and the end of Roxham Road, marked by a road closed sign, continues to be a beginning for many seeking a safe place. Aishwarya Nagchaudhary, NCC News.
One night I went to see a concert, and it changed my life.
Drawing inspiration from that night, Frank Malfitano changed the music scene in Syracuse.
The things that I've seen around the world and around the country and in Canada and Europe at major festivals, and I love to bring that back here.
He says without any prior experience in the field, it wasn't easy.
I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a dream. I didn't have any idea that we were going to last 35 years.
But they did last. Bands like the Mavericks and Todd Rundgren are headliners this year. But Malfitano says the festival has always been a starstruck event.
Aretha Franklin, Natalie Cole, Chaka Khan, Ray Charles, B.B. King, Smokey Robinson, Dionne Warwick, Roberta Flack, Les McCann, Sonny Rollins, Dizzy Gillespie, Dave Brubeck. I mean, it's a who's who of jazz, pop, soul, and R&B legends.
All that for no entry fee. Malfitano says he has his team to thank for the success of the festival.
That's my main man, Dan Bowery.
And his team has the same to say about him.
Always tries to make it new and exciting.
He does this out of the love for the arts, not the usual promoter that does it for the money.
For Malfitano, it's about the passion.
It's going to be amazing. I always wanted to stay close to the music. I think it's medicine, you know, it's the healing force, it's the great communicator that brings everyone on the planet together.
The 35th Syracuse Jazz Fest starts today.